This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show. And this is your host, Greg Gilbert, a.k.a. the Python Hyena. And folks, I have a wonderfully gifted, talented musician and singer on the phone with me today. She's my third McBroom sister. In fact, this was quite a domino effect because I had the lovely and beautiful Dolly Reed Martin on here from Beyond the Valley of the Dolls back in June. And she led me to Marcia McBroom from the same movie. Marcia led me to her sister Lorelei. And Lorelei led me to Apache Ramos from the Warriors and her sister Durga McBroom, whom I have on the phone with me today. How do you do, Durga?
Buongiorno. I'm very well. I'm here in Rome, Italy.
Tell me about Rome, Italy. How gorgeous is it there?
I love living here. It is the eternal city. And that's the thing. You'll be riding on the bus and look out the window and, oh, there's the Colosseum.
There you go.
It's the energy here is electric as well as very ancient, which is something that I look for in a place to live. I love having a place where you can feel it's got roots. And the architecture, the people, the cuisine, everything here is just so special.
Wow. I've never been out that way, but I know somebody that just got back from vacationing there. I said, Italy, you mean that is shaped like the boot? And she said she was up on the upper rim of the boot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But no, I've never been there. But a lot of people say that the food is to die for.
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing. It's amazing. And the thing that I really learned that quite differs from the American interpretation of Italian food for the most part, Italian cuisine is very much predicated upon simple ingredients cooked well.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's not as much embellishment as, say, maybe French cuisine, although I love French cuisine, or other cuisines. It's just good, fresh ingredients prepared well. And that's something I've been striving to put more into my cooking because I love to cook as well.
You have a favorite dish?
Oh, boy. No, I like too many different types of cuisine. But, I can tell you a great Italian summer dish that a friend of mine who lives in Tuscany
Mm-hmm.
showed me how to make. He has his own garden, and if I tell you the cherry tomatoes that he grows in his garden, they're like candy. They're so sweet, and they are so full of flavor, nothing like the tomatoes that you would buy in the United States, for instance.
Okay.
So he picks a bunch of those, chops them fine, minces garlic very fine, and also fresh basil from his garden. Then he'll cook a bunch of pasta, some spaghetti.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that people don't really realize in real Italian cooking is the pasta water is often a very important ingredient. So he cooks the pasta, then drains most of it, reserves a little bit of that water, then tosses all that fresh, finely chopped tomato, garlic, and basil with olive oil and a little bit of salt and a tiny touch of that pasta water all together. And the heat from the fresh pasta just barely cooks those ingredients. And it's a fantastic summer pasta to serve.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I just had a pasta meal last night at Boston Pizza, and I love penne noodles.
Oh, I could reach through this phone and smack you right now. How dare you mention it in the same breath? I'm sorry.
You don't like penne?
I love penne, but Boston pizza, not my favorite.
Actually, the thing is, I love a pasta dish, but thing I like with penne, Unlike spaghetti it can easily splatter on your clothes, whereas penne I can just hook my fork tongs in the in the holes there, and
That's true.
yeah, yeah. But I love eating that kind of food, and it's no, I probably is I. Take your word for it. Yeah, it's probably not what you get in Italy. I take your word for it.
Well, let me tell you, I was just down in Sicilia with Lorelai, actually, in
Hmm.
Sicily. And, of course, any of the places like Sicily or Sardinia like that, they're known for their seafood. And they have a specialty that is spaghetti with uh, fresh sea urchin,
Okay.
which sounds crazy, but it makes a really rich accompaniment to pasta. Fresh sea urchin and a little bit of olive oil, and again, a little bit of that pasta water. It makes kind of a sauce. It's unbelievably decadent.
Oh wow. Well, I'm from New Brunswick, Canada. Have you ever been up this way before?
I have.
You've been in New Brunswick?
Actually, I'm not sure. I haven't been to New Brunswick, but I've been a lot of places in Canada. I've been from Vancouver to Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been to New Brunswick, but I've also spent quite a bit of time in Montreal because I have some friends there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've been up there.
Okay. Yeah, not too many people know about us New Brunswickan people.
I do know that you guys have some amazing food up there because I've seen on. Oh, I was watching Anthony Bourdain, I think,
Okay.
and I think he came up that way.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, you know what? We got to talk about your music, but one thing I do got to bring up, this is the 35th anniversary, of course, of Flashdance.
Yes.
It's been so long since I've seen Flashdance, but I gotta say, what a gorgeous soundtrack that movie
Yes.
has. Yeah, of course.
Very, very indicative of the era.
How did you get involved with Flashdance?
Well, it's a funny story actually. I first I went to an open dance audition for the lead for Jennifer Beals' part, which
Okay.
I knew I wasn't going to get, but I went anyway because I danced a lot back then. Uh, and then subsequent to that, my boyfriend at the time had an audition on the lot at Paramount. So I drove him that day. And while I was waiting around for him during his audition, I mean, I don't think he could do this now these days. But I was waiting for him, and I saw a little bungalow over to the side that said Flashdance Production, and I just walked in. And I walked up, I met the assistant casting director, and I said, "Hi, my name is Durga. I think I should be in this movie." And she had me read a little bit for the part of Heels, and she said, "Oh, yeah, okay, I want you to come back and read for the lead head casting director." So I came back about a week later, and I was sitting there, and this funny little Englishman walks over to me, and he sits down, and he says, "Who are you?" And I said, "My name is Durga McBroom." And he says, "Hi. What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I'm here reading for the part of Heels." And we talked for a bit. That was Adrian Lyne,
Okay.
and the director. And
Yep.
he liked me so much. He chose me out of, I beat out like 350 other girls for that part. So, and he's such a sweetheart and such a visionary director.
Speaking
I'm
of
very honored to have worked with him.
Speaking of great soundtracks, a couple years ago I bought the soundtrack for 9.5 weeks. Another one of his
Yes,
films. I love that
yes,
film, but it's amazing. I didn't know how many Canadian talents were on that soundtrack for
yes.
for
Is it
nine.
Michael, which on 9.5 weeks, you mean?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
yeah. Corey Hart with Eurasian Eyes, which I
Oh, yeah,
love, and
yeah.
um, oh, who is that? Luba had a couple songs on there, and Del Bello. All these Canadian. I'm like, wow.
Mm,
Mm. But
yes.
Flash,
Great film, too.
oh yes, I think it's so much better than 50 Shades of Grey. I think.
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
please. Not even in the same league.
No,
Yeah. As
no,
I mentioned, Adrian Lyne is such a visionary director, very underrated as a director, I think.
yeah.
9.5 weeks is one. And then there was the film he did with Diane Lane. Was it The Affair? I can't remember what
Oh,
the
it's
name of it was.
Unfaithful.
Unfaithful, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, same kind of thing. Makes 50 Shades of Grey look like a children's cartoon.
I think
the complexity of what he gets into.
I think 50 Shades of Grey was a children's cartoon.
Yeah. And Fatal Attraction, let's not forget, that was Adrian also.
Yep. But Flashdance, of course, we all remember Irene Cara's title song. Of course, I loved her in Fame, and
Yes.
and then she went on to this, and What a Feeling,
That won an Oscar, by the way.
Yes, and she has a gorgeous voice, beautiful woman, and loved her performance in Fame. I'm surprised she didn't do more acting in her career, but she's definitely...
I know. I'm surprised as well. But, sometimes when you blow up that big, that fast, some people don't like it, and they decide to retreat a bit from the limelight. I'm not really sure what the case was in her story, but I wouldn't be surprised, because she was suddenly, she was in Fame, and then Flashdance won an Oscar and all of that. So she may well have, case in point, Cynthia Rhodes, that was in Flashdance, one of the most talented people I've ever had the honor to work with, because she's a real actress, singer, dancer, you name it, she could do it. And she was so disgusted with Hollywood. She married Richard Marx and retired to be a mom. She hated it. And, what a loss for us, but I don't blame her.
Well, you know what? Fame has its cost. I mean, look at John Belushi, Robin Williams.
I know.
It catches up with people.
In fact, Sonny Johnson, who was in Flashdance, the blonde girl, who was Jennifer Beals' best friend, sadly, she died very shortly after the film was released from a brain aneurysm. Yeah, because from what I understood, she was dabbling in some pretty nasty things, and it just caught up to her one day.
Do you remember her at all on set of that movie?
Oh, God, yes. We were all, even now, I talked to Michael Nouri just a couple of days ago. I talk to him regularly. And last time I was in Los Angeles, I had a lovely brunch with Michael and Stacey Pickren, who was also in the film, who played one of the Flash dancers. And then a little bit before that, again, Michael and I and Kyle Hefner and, oh, goodness. Anyway, the cast, for the most part, we've stayed pretty much in touch. It was a very, very unique camaraderie that we felt. Malcolm Danar also, I talk to him regularly. We stay in touch all 35 years later. And in fact, 3.5 years ago, or no, just over 3 years ago, I lost my husband, unfortunately. And Michael was a prince, an angel. He was writing me every day, every other day, sending me just a picture of flowers, something sweet to show that he cared. And it really helped me a lot. He is every bit as fantastic and amazing as you think he is. He's a sweetheart.
Who is this
Everyone
again?
is. Michael Nouri, the lead in Flashdance.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, the man who played the love interest in Flashdance.
Wow. Well, I guess
he's
was
a really good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never knew this. I'm sorry to hear about your husband. I read up on that, and it's sad losing a loved one, but I'm really happy you had a nice support system like that. Not everybody does that, and boy, that says an awful lot about him.
Oh, he's an exemplary human being. Very spiritual, very sweet, just a genuinely good guy. And also, of course, my family was very there for me, as you know, my sisters and my brothers. My family's pretty tight as well.
Yes. Well, I have Marcia and Lorelei on here, and I got that they sang your praises.
Well, look at who I had to look up to. Marcia was such a trailblazer, with first being one of the first African American models that was very heavily featured and then in acting, and she was in so many iconic cult classics. Then Dana, our next oldest sister, also is a professor of dance. She and Marcia danced with Catherine Dunham at the Met and toured with Eartha Kitt in Europe, and then Dana went on to co-write "Pull Up to the Bumper," the song Grace Jones's biggest hit, because Grace is a friend of the family.
Yeah.
And then Lorelai, and me, and then our little sister Laura. She also was quite talented, but she chose a different path. She chose to be a teacher, and she is a mom with 4 wonderful children. And then our 2 brothers are military.
Okay.
And they're very big, so don't mess with us.
they have to be big. They got 4 sisters. They have to be big.
5.
5 sisters.
5
They're
girls,
outnumbered. They
5
had
girls
to
and
be.
2 boys. Yeah.
They just need to put the Road Warrior shoulder spikes on, and then they can take us all on.
They don't even need those. Trust me. They will take you out. No, my little brother James, the biggest, he's the biggest one in the family, and he's the youngest. He works. He's in the National Guard. He's actually deployed at the moment, but when he's not, he is a supervisor at Home Depot in Los Angeles. And somebody came in there acting foolish, trying to start problems, and he just basically just sat on the guy and said, "No, son, you need to stop moving because you're not going anywhere." I mean, my little brother is, I think he's 6'4", about 250 pounds. He's a big boy. So, yeah, the man stopped fooling around. He got the point very quickly.
He never ever had to sit on his sisters for acting up?
He's the little brother. He's the youngest. No, he would never do that. Not with us. No.
Don't mess with the sisters.
No.
Well, as I was saying, Flashdance had a great soundtrack. Songs like Manhunt, and
yes.
Kim Carnes was on there, and Donna Summer, and
Laura Branigan.
Yes, Laura Branigan.
Michael Sembello. Maniac,
yes.
That was a classic.
Yep, Maniac, and of course Irene Cara. Did you? I don't know what the working relationship was between Irene and the film. Did you meet her or get to work with her any?
Never, unfortunately, ever got to meet her. Always wanted to. Although when it was finally first released onto DVD, there was a big party at Paramount, and there were several films that were released all at once. There was Flashdance,
yep,
Footloose, Urban Cowboy, and Grease were the 4 films that were released all at once. So there was a big party, and John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John were there, and I got to meet the man that played the uncle in Urban Cowboy. He was such a sweetie. So that was fun, but I didn't see Irene there, unfortunately.
Okay. And what about Jennifer Beals?
Now, Jennifer, the last time I saw her was we did have an event to commemorate the 30th anniversary. It was the first time I had seen this film on the big screen in 30 years. They rented out a theater in Santa Monica, California, and it was sold out immediately. And Michael and Kyle and Stacy was not there, but Jennifer was there. And she was as sweet and gorgeous. That woman does not age.
Okay.
She's flawless and such a nice, genuine person. Again, another person who was not really crazy about the Hollywood life and kind of chose to sort of go more on the outskirts of it and chose more independent projects. And also right after Flashdance, she went to university and got her degree, which I really respected her for. But she was as sweet as ever.
Well, that scene with her on the chair and the water coming down, very iconic.
Yes, and that wasn't her, right? Well, actually, they did 2 different versions.
Okay.
Because there was a dance double named Marine Jahan, a French-Canadian, by the way.
Okay.
Fantastic dancer. Because Jennifer is a great actress, but she's not the best dancer. So they doubled her with Marine in 95% of her dance scenes. They did. I remember that day. They both did it, from what I remember. They both did the shot where they had to pull the water, and it was really horrible for both of them. You know, water going up their nose and looking really uncomfortable. I mean, people don't realize what looks glamorous sometimes can be horrible, but you've got to play it off and look like you just,
Well,
I meant to do that.
well, you know what? It was probably more glamorous than it was for Elvira when she did a parody of it in her film, and it ended up being tarred and feathered.
Yeah. Well, also, I remember Jennifer telling me that the water was really heavy too, and she felt like she was going to break her neck at one point. But she, like a trooper, she pulled through and did it.
Did you see the Deadpool 2 poster that has Deadpool with the bullets coming down on him like that?
Yes, I have. I saw it. I did see that.
He didn't seem to mind it.
No.
No. And of course,
in fact, the last dance scene, where she's auditioning at the school, I think there were 4 different people. Yes, there were 4 different people that made up the dancing in that. There was Jennifer, where you could definitely see her face. Then there was Maureen. Then there was a gymnast for part of it, and then the spin on the back, the breakdancing move, that was Crazy Legs. That was a man. And in fact, if you look closely, he's got a mustache. It's pretty funny.
Well, Lee Ving is in this too, and he also did Get Crazy that same year. So
yes, and actually, I saw Lee. That's right, Lee was at the 30th reunion, and again, very, very sweet. In fact, if you look on Facebook, I'm sure you'll find the album where there's pictures of me with Jennifer and Lee and Michael.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? 35 years ago that came out, so I would have been 11 in 1983 when that came out. So, but I remember the sounds of Irene Cara and that, and of course Maniac and all those songs. Music definitely brings a lot to a movie. Like movies like Rock of Ages really did that for me. It just took me back to that time.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Well, Lorelei has told me that you have toured with a lot of great artists. And, of course, we talked about Pink Floyd. Now, I interviewed Jenny Wright from the movie Pink Floyd, The Wall, which I really loved.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love her. I just saw her. What did I see her in? I saw her in something recently, and I was thinking, what a great actress I thought she is, and I wondered what she's gotten up to.
Yeah, no, she's kind of laying low right now, I think. I think she's writing a book, but I was so happy to get her on my show. It's one of my most popular interviews. But
Great.
I love that film, and of course, Pink Floyd tells quite a story.
Yes.
I'll let you indulge us with your work with Pink Floyd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Lorelei mentioned that how this all started was it was really being right place at the right time. Mm-hmm. I was in New York because Lorelei was recording a solo album, and I was singing backing vocals for her. And at the time, Pink Floyd had started the tour with only 2 singers, Margaret, who's now Machan Taylor, and Rachel Fury. And then once they decided they wanted to do some live concert videos, and David Gilmour asked Michael Pilo, who ran the production company who was producing the videos, if he knew a third singer, or actually he wanted 3 more. As David put it, he wanted to, quote unquote, add some color. Okay. And so he wanted 3 lovely black women to add to the section. So Michael knew Lorelei and recommended her, and she said, well, my sister's also here, and we have another friend, Roberta Freeman, who went on to tour with Guns N' Roses and some other notable people. And we sent in some recordings of what we'd just been working on and some photos, and David said, great, fly down. So they flew us down to Atlanta, Georgia, and we had listened to A Momentary Lapse of Reason and learned the parts, and we went backstage, And here comes this man with a guitar, an acoustic guitar, and he sits down and goes, "Hello, why don't we go over some of the parts?" And I was thinking, who's this? I don't know. Because even though I was a Pink Floyd fan, they were very, very, very against showing their own photographs. So they wanted to be more incognito. So I didn't realize it was David Gilmour until, of course, he opened his mouth, and then I was like, oh. So we sang some of the more difficult parts, and he was quite satisfied, and he said, "Would you like to start tonight?" And instead of, because we were supposed to watch the show the first night and then tape the next couple of nights. So, of course, we said, sure, we're trying to go, and then thought, oh, my God, what did we just say? And got up, got dressed, walked out in front of 15,000 people, which was a very intimate gig, as it turns out, for them. But obviously far more people than maybe 500 capacity seat places I'd ever been to. But as soon as I walked on the stage and I looked up and I saw those people, a calm sort of fell over me, and I thought, yeah, I'm supposed to do this. I'm home. And subsequently, because they needed someone to sing Bottom, they asked me to join the tour. And I'm the one they kept until the last show.
Do you have a favorite Pink Floyd song?
Oh, goodness. People ask me that a lot. It's kind of like asking someone, who's your favorite child? I like different songs for different reasons, of course.
Yeah.
I love, well, Great Gig in the Sky is a love-hate kind of thing. I love singing that song when I don't have to sing the whole thing, because I'm a contralto, and Claire Torrey, the original singer, is a mezzo-soprano, so it's really difficult, but I do it, and when I nail it, I love it.
Do you have a favorite song you like to perform from Pink Floyd?
Well, I like different songs from different eras. I sometimes like Shine On You Crazy Diamond.
Okay.
I love the backing vocal parts and the choreography on Dogs of War. It's so much fun. That one's really fun to do. Wish You Were Here is a special favorite. Time, I love the backing vocals on that. I like singing lead on some of the newer things. Let me think. Like I said, I like different songs for different reasons. Let me think. Money is a fun one to do, of course. Run Like Hell, I've started doing, because I appear now with a lot of Pink Floyd tribute bands all over the world.
Yeah.
And I've taken over Guy Pratt's part, much to his chagrin. But I like doing that. There's so many. There's so many. And I can now also say Richard Wright's contribution to this music should never be underestimated. His melodic sensibilities and the textures that he wove through so many of these songs is really overlooked by a lot of people. And Nick Mason, too. And in fact, I have my own band, Blue Pearl, which is
yes, I'm just going to bring that up next.
Well, a good segue here, because I have a new album that's coming out. My partner is Youth, who co-produced The Endless River, the last Pink Floyd album. I'm on the last 4 Pink Floyd albums, by the way.
Okay.
And our new album that we're negotiating right now with the label to get put out, Nick Mason is playing drums on.
I find it interesting, we went from Pink Floyd to Blue Pearl.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Blue Pearl is a spiritual thing, something from my spiritual teacher, Swami Muktananda, and the practice of Siddha Yoga.
Okay.
But Nick Mason is playing on a house record, on a dance record, and he kills it. I was so thrilled when I heard what he did. It's amazing. So again, he also, his contribution should not be underestimated by anyone, because he has a feel that nobody has. People say, oh, he's so simple, blah, blah, blah. And I say, oh, really? Try to play something just exactly how he plays it, and people can't.
You got any stories about performing with Pink Floyd? Out in the road?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, near the end of the tours, we start playing jokes on stage on each other.
Okay.
And so here's a good one because Lorelai's in it also.
Okay.
We were somewhere, and it was Rachel and Lorelai and I, and we were about to do The Great Gig in the Sky, which, is very somber and a lot of gravitas. You have to gird yourself and prepare and really get into your feelings. And so we're standing there, and there's a little strip of ground in between the security barrier and the edge of the stage. And into this little bare area comes the head of security, Eddie Perez, who is now an award-winning stunt coordinator for, I can't remember the name of the show. No. Anyway, I can't think of it. Eddie Perez and Gary Wallace, the percussionist, come strolling into this little area and stop right in front of the three of us. And right when Rachel opens her mouth, takes a big lungful of air to sing her first note, oh, 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 that part.
Yep.
They throw open their coats, and they're stark naked. Yes. And the audience cannot see this, of course, because they've got their backs to them. And, Shameless. That's the show. Eddie Perez is now the stunt coordinator for Shameless. He's up for an Emmy, another one. Anyhow, here's Eddie and Gary kind of flailing their bits about with their coats open like flashers, and so only we can see. And we had to sing the whole song watching their flobbly bits wobble to and fro. So we decide, okay, we got to do something now. And during another brick in the wall, we would be kind of marching in formation, sort of in place, facing to the front. Then when David Gilmour would do his solo, he was to the left of us. So we would turn, pivot, and face him to the left. Then Tim Rennick was on a riser, the second guitarist, behind us. So when we turned around, we would face him when he did his solo after David. The three of us whipped our tops down so our boobs were sticking out. And again, audience couldn't see because we had our backs to them. But Tim could, so he had to play his whole solo looking at three pairs of bouncing bazooms. It was pretty funny.
Nice counter.
Yeah, we got into some hijinks. The whole backline crew ran to that side of the stage. It was hilarious. It was silly. And then another time, we were in Modena in Italy.
Okay. And
before the show, I was wandering around the town because I wanted to see. I'd never been. And I walked past this fantastic music shop, with little instruments and things. And in the window was an entire box of kazoos. Okay. And, a kazoo, make that noise.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And ding, the little light bulb goes off over my head. And I run inside and I buy the whole box. And I come back to the venue and whispering amongst the band, I passed them out to everybody but David, and we didn't tell him. So during Money, during that tour, we did a version where there was a breakdown in the middle, and it was a bass solo and a kind of reggae thing and all this stuff. And then David brings it back to come back to the song. He starts out with the full rock god on guitar, right?
Yeah.
And we follow, the band goes call and response like that. Mm-hmm. So this night, David stands up in the front in his rock god pose and plays his riff on the guitar, and the whole band responds on kazoos. And David was laughing so hard he almost couldn't finish the song. Yeah, we used to like to get up to hijinks like that on stage. Oh. Those are some of my better memories.
I gotta say, good sense of humor on his part. Those are nice memories. I enjoyed hearing those.
Well, yeah, I mean, when we got him, and he couldn't resist it. Another time we were in Pittsburgh, and we were checking into this hotel, and unfortunately our check-in was severely delayed because they were checking out what had just come before was like a 3-day blind bowlers convention I kid you not. It was the whole hotel was filled with blind bowlers.
Okay.
And so, honey, those people can party. All I can say is when we finally were being escorted to our rooms, we saw the ones they were still cleaning. There would be an empty half-gallon jug of Jack Daniels and like a half-eaten bag of dog food for a seeing eye dog. I don't know what was going on, but these people were carrying on something crazy. So, again, during Money, there's the first verse, I think I'll buy me a football team. Guy leans over as David is singing and sings to him, I think I'll buy me a blind bowling team. And David, again, couldn't stop laughing.
Oh, it's funny. And now moving, of course, Blue Pearl. Talk about that process. That's, of course, very personal, yeah.
Well, Blue Pearl started because when Pink Floyd played live in Venice, that huge show, free concert that Lorelei was also part of, that was for about 350,000 people. One of the people who was in attendance was Youth, who was an old school friend of Guy Pratt, the bass player, who also went on. I mean, he's a founding member of Killing Joke, won Producer of the Year for the Verve Bittersweet Symphony, and has worked with Paul McCartney, and as I mentioned, co-producer of The Endless River. He came to that show, and he came up to me and he said, "Hey, man, I really like your voice. I'd like to make you a star." And the first song we wrote, Naked in the Rain, actually kind of did, because it went to number 4 in the British pop charts. It crossed over from the dance chart.
Well, you guys were almost naked on the stage with Pink Floyd.
Yes. And it went to number 2 in most of the European charts. And we had a few top 20 singles after that. So that's where that came from. Pink Floyd. I owe them everything.
And of course, you worked with Billy Idol as well. Talk about that.
I did indeed.
Yeah.
He requested me because, the album Cyberpunk was way before its time, especially in terms of the marketing.
Yep.
He really went full in on the internet marketing and things because it was still very much in its infancy. And people just weren't ready for it. They weren't ready to hear him with a more techno sort of sound. And I really don't think it got the credit it should have deserved. If he'd put it out 5 years later, but 10 years would have been ideal. People would have been all over it, but they could not handle it coming from him, which is really a shame. The song, I sang on 4 or 5 songs, but one of them is a duet of a Blue Pearl song called Mother Dawn.
Okay.
Because he said, "Yeah, I'd like to do a duet with you." And we were trying to think, what about this? No, what about this? And he's like, "Well, I really like this song." And I said, "Yeah, well, that's my song." And he said, "Well, why don't we just do this one?" And I said, "Okay." So we recorded a duet. I mean, it's very odd hearing such a well-known voice singing my lyrics. And a couple of years ago, I did a re-release of another Blue Pearl song called "Can You Feel the Passion?" And Boy George put it on his label. And I asked him if he would sing on it. And so, again, I'm sitting there listening to Boy George singing my lyrics. It was pretty cool. He's a sweetheart. I love him to death. I hope to do more with him in the future.
You have a favorite Boy George song?
Oh, God.
I grew up with Boy George. Same with Billy Idol. I grew up with these people.
Of course. Well, "Do You Really Want to Hurt Me" is great, but I love the way he sings "The Crying Game."
Oh, yes.
And actually, come to think of it, there is a new Culture Club album coming out this year, and I'm on that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom used to say, "Boy George makes a great-looking woman."
He really is quite stunning in person. He's just lovely. And inside and out, really, really sweet, sweet guy. I love him to death.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, and just about a month ago, I met Holly Johnson. Actually, no, I'd met him before, come to think of it, when I was doing the the rounds with Blue Pearl. We met on some TV show in Germany or something years ago, and then I was just back doing some more on the new Blue Pearl album, and he was in the studio downstairs at Youth's place, and he remembered me from all that time ago. Again, another really sweet guy.
Well, there you go. Did you have a favorite place you like to tour to?
Well, I moved here, didn't I?
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah, Italy's great.
Italy's
fabulous.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
when I was based in Los Angeles, I still do have a place there.
Mm-hmm.
But I would come over here, and I'd have to kind of string some shows together, and I'd be lugging this huge bag around and staying away from home for months, and it was really very grueling. But now that I live here, I can go do a show and then come home and, pack a little overnight bag and go do a show and come home. And I love being here. I love going to South and Central America as well. The audiences there are fabulous. I love Argentina. I've been going there for the last 8 years at least. Recently went to Guatemala. That was really cool. I actually work a lot now in Russia as well, and the audiences there are outstanding. And for the first time went to Kazakhstan earlier this year. It was just unbelievable. The love that people show makes me really, really humble and very, very grateful that I get to do this for a living. I get to make people happy for a living. Can't beat that.
No, you can't. Now, we talked earlier about Flashdance, but you had some other films to your credit as well. I remember my parents used to take me to the drive-in, the movie theater, but once the drive-in started disappearing here, we started going to the theater, and of course, the Smurfs and the Magic Flute came out in 1976, but I guess when it was re-released in 1983 with English voices, I guess I just noticed you're part of that.
I am. I'm doing the voice of a Smurf. That is something that I really wish I could get into more, is voiceover work, because I like to do voices. In fact, I have a voiceover reel called Durga McBroom's House of Multiple Personalities. And it's basically a house where there's a tour. I'm the tour guide, and you can hear footsteps, people walking through the house. And every time you open a door to a new room in the house, there's a different person inside, and they're all me. And in fact, when Steve Harvey had his morning radio show in Los Angeles, they called me first. They had blind submissions, and out of thousands of people, they played mine first, and they had me come in first to audition to be a morning angel. But they didn't let me. I didn't know they wanted me to be as crazy on the air as I was on my tape. So it didn't work, but it's fine. I didn't feel like getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning every day anyway.
My big issue with the Smurfs and the Magic Flute is that, I was so used to of course, I think this came out before the cartoon, but the cartoon, all the Smurfs had distinguishing elements about them that made them stand out, and I think in the Smurfs and the Magic Flute, I saw that, of course, after the cartoon, and I was like, they all look the same except for Papa Smurf. Of course, Smurfette is not in it, and that always kind of put me off with that movie, but yeah, because I was like,
well, animation is such a, it's a changing art. Of course, you can argue that the addition of computer graphics and things like that has allowed for so many more things to be possible. But I am a huge fan of old school animation and the watercolor backdrops and, the hand-drawn cells that you can't recapture that. So with what you gain one thing, but you lose something else. And I have to say I agree with you.
Yeah. But, like I said, the Smurfs, they all had the distinguished personalities, and you could look at them and you'd know who was who, and so when I saw the movie, it's like, oh man, like you can't tell them apart, but anyway. Yeah. But of course you did Rosebud Beach Hotel. Yes, I've interviewed Eddie Deason from that.
Yeah. And Fran Drescher. who also was very nice. But the biggest person I was thrilled to meet was Christopher Lee.
Oh, Christopher Lee.
I was a huge Dracula fan. I'm a major vampophile. So when I went up and introduced myself and I told him, he seemed quite surprised that I was such a fan. But I explained, how many of his films I'd loved and how thrilled I was to be working with him. He was obviously as gracious as you would imagine he was. I was very, very happy to have met him. He was such a sweetheart. And the Curry sisters were also in it, Marie and Sherry.
Colin Camp.
They were really cool. So that was a fun thing.
Yeah.
For a crappy I won't even say B movie. It was more like a J movie. But it was fun.
And, of course, Vendetta. I'd never seen this, but...
No, and you never will.
Okay. Okay, we'll pass on that. And, of course, Earth Girls Are Easy.
Yeah, no, that was fun. That was cool, and I see that periodically. And got to meet the fabulous Jeff Goldblum for the first time on that. And then subsequently, I've run into him in various L.A. clubs, and he's a fantastic jazz pianist. So I've sat in with his band on several occasions since then, and he's as eccentric as you could possibly imagine. In fact, on the set of Earth Girls Are Easy, he would walk around and in between takes read aloud to himself from P.G. Wodehouse and doing all the characters with very strange sort of accents like this he'd read to himself aloud as long as they were resetting the scene. And I would sit there and just watch him. He was fascinating. He's really nuts.
I like Jeff
great.
Goldblum, yeah.
He's very cool. There was a lot of drama going on in that set because that, unfortunately, was near the end of his relationship with Gina Davis, and she seemed quite unhappy at the time. I felt really bad for her. But then again, all these young girls, we shot this scene. It was the party scene where they're in the club, the nightclub, and that took maybe 3 days to shoot. And these girls were just blatantly, just horribly throwing themselves at him right in front of her. I felt really bad. But that was a good experience, that film.
Do you have any memories? You have any memories of Jim Carrey or Julie Brown?
Oh, yes. Oh, God, I forgot. That's right. Jim Carrey was so shy on that set and just not what you would think. You'd think he'd be very loud and braggadocious and sort of, full of bravado. But he was very, very new. He and Damon Wayans, they were both angels. They were just like little puppies. They were so nice. And Julie Brown, I didn't really talk to.
Okay.
But everybody else, Gina was really sweet. And then, I'm trying to think the name of the man who played Dr. Love. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, the comedian. But he was really nice.
I can't think
of either.
It was
just fun.
Yeah, I don't have the stats right in front of me there, but yeah. So what do you have coming up? I know you've had projects come up because I know that Lorelei said that she had gone to Italy, and I guess you guys were doing something.
We did 2 shows. We did the first of many, hopefully. Normally when we perform together, we get a call to be guest stars together with these Pink Floyd tribute bands. Lorelei works most of the year with the Australian Pink Floyd. But then we finally got to do one of my favorite gigs. There's a wonderful hotel called Terme Preistoriche, which is in a town called Montegrotto Terme. Montegrotto Terme is near Venice. And the whole town is known for its healing thermal waters. And so they have a summer series called Jazz by the Pool, where they set up this fabulous buffet, and there are these amazing pools outside, swimming pools that have this warm thermal water. And then we did a whole night of jazz and blues, Billie Holiday and even some Joni Mitchell and Dinah Krall. I sang Strange Fruit. I did Good Morning Heartache. We did a little bit of Pink Floyd. And it was a wonderful. Everyone gets to kind of dress up and be elegant and have prosecco and all this fabulous Italian food by the pool. So we did that, and then we did another show in Sicily. But what's coming up for me now is, as I mentioned, I'm negotiating this deal right now to finally get the Blue Pearl album released, because we've been working on it for the last couple of years, and it's almost done. And a German label wants to put it out, a new label, as well as possibly a solo album for me, and another project with a man named Vittorio Discalzi, who was in a big progressive rock band called New Trolls that's huge in Italy, and we wrote an anti-Trump song that they want to release. So I've got a few things in the pipe.
Yeah, Trump don't have many fans here in Canada either. He seems to be separating himself from the Allies, and I don't want to get too political on here, but I don't know.
Fair enough. It's your show.
But
all day long.
Yeah, it's like every day it's something, and I gotta say, I'll say this. I think it was Jim Cornette, the wrestling personality, the wrestling manager, had said that Trump ran as a publicity stunt, and that's what it looks like.
Oh, yeah. He wasn't supposed to win, really. But the Russians wanted him to win, so that's why he won.
Yeah, well, that's what seems anyway. So I mean, you just throw your hands up, and it's like reality's just going right out the window. And I think part of the problem is, and this is not just with Trump, this could be with anybody. They're talking about Oprah running for president, and I'm like, when are people going to stop with the celebrities and just get somebody in there that knows how to be a politician?
Politics.
Yeah.
Right, fair enough. But the one thing I would say about Oprah is a successful businesswoman.
Yes.
There's a big difference. People think Trump was a successful businessman, but he's not. He's fraud. But anyway, let's put it this way. You guys already saw the writing on the wall. You had to deal with Rob Ford. So
yep.
Uncle Cracky, as I call him.
Yep.
He survived it. And basically, the one good thing I see coming out of all of this, there is so much that has been going on in terms of money, big money in American politics, and being sold out to special interests. And the status quo would have been maintained had Hillary won. And it would have looked really nice from the outside, but meanwhile, all of our rights and things are basically being sold to the highest bidder. Now, because the corruption is so unbelievably blatant and in your face, I really believe that the backlash to this will swing us way back towards where we really need to be. And that's my wish for this horrible period in history, that it has a positive outcome.
I hope so too. I absolutely hope so.
It's kind of like the difference between putting some cover-up makeup on a huge, unsightly boil to take the redness away and actually lancing it. The boil needed to be lanced, and it's about ready to pop. Watch. Remember I said it.
Yep. Well, do you have any charities that you're involved with?
Not particularly directly. There is one school for the deaf that I contribute. They ask me for contributions to their auctions every year. That's in the UK. But AMFAR is always a good one. The Charity for AIDS Research.
Oh, yes.
And I just tell people to pick what touches their heart, really. Basically, if somebody asks me to do something for charity, usually I'll do it. I don't have a particular favorite charity that I work with, but thank you for asking.
Yeah. Well,
I will say one thing that I would recommend people do.
Yeah?
Especially if you're a person of color. I had a friend several years ago who asked me to give a sample to Be the Match Foundation, which is they keep a registry for people who are looking for who might need a transplant or something like that.
Okay.
And I actually came up as a match for somebody a few years ago, but she chose not to do the surgery. And it was when it really hit me that something so small that I could do could save someone's life. I started crying. It was so profound to realize, sure, maybe I'd be uncomfortable for a minute, but she'd have a whole life ahead of her.
Mm-hmm.
So I know in America, in the United States, that they're very low on donations from people of color. So I would ask, what you do is you go to Be the Match Foundation,
mm-hmm.
And you send your address, and they send you a little kit with a cheek swab, which is just a Q-tip, and you wipe it on the inside of your mouth, you stick it in the test tube, and mail it back. Then boom, you're in the registry. And if you come up a match, you have the opportunity to save somebody's life. And you can refuse, but why would you?
Yeah.
That's something I would encourage people to do.
Well, that's a great charity. Yeah, one I've been pushing. It's ever since, unfortunately, Robin Williams has passed away. Was something for a cause for suicide and depression. Yeah. And I've been trying to get people in the industry, just like with the Ice Bucket Challenge. I've been trying to get people in the industry to do the Doubtfire Face Challenge.
Oh, wow. What with the cake?
You take a pie in the face or a cake in the face, and you nominate 3 people. And I've had people I've interviewed take up that challenge because a lot of people send the numbers out on Facebook and tell you to pass it on.
I do it a lot.
And people never, ever really look at that. But when you get people...
Yeah, they do, actually.
Oh?
Well, they do on my page. I'll tell you something. I actually had somebody write me. It's funny you should mention it.
Mm-hmm.
About a month ago. I have 5,000 friends at any given time and over 10,000 followers just on my personal page alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I see certain names come up regularly, but some people I don't. But this person, I'd seen his name before, and he wrote my inbox the other day saying that he just wanted to thank me because earlier that week he had tried to hang himself and had failed. But because of the things that I post and the things that I say, I made him realize it was okay to not be okay, and he chose to go and get on medication.
Oh,
and he thanked me for that. And I do post those, so don't discount that. Posting the hotline numbers and things like that really do make a difference. Everything makes a difference, and just letting people know that somebody out here understands that sometimes it's hard, and sometimes we all know that sometimes we don't want to be here. And that's okay. And you don't have to necessarily fix it right away. You just have to keep breathing.
Wow, you know what? I'm going to start forward them on. You just inspired me there.
Good. Yeah, do.
Yeah.
And if you want me to take a pie in the face, damn you, I'm on a ketosis diet, so I don't eat sugar. But I could try.
Well, do you know people in the industry? Throw it out to 3 of them.
Okay, I'll do that.
I've had some of my interview guests do it, and I wanted, because that's what people want to see. They want to see people in the industry do it. But I did it, and I threw it out there. So I'm not asking people to do something that I haven't done myself. So
what do you call the challenge?
It's called the Doubtfire Face Challenge.
Doubtfire Face Challenge. Okay,
yeah.
I know what I could do. I could just whip up a bowl of whipped cream.
There you go. And you video it, and
obviously.
Yep, and
do it by myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could even throw it out to Lorelei if you want to.
She would kill me.
But
yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, and and I could even put it on my YouTube page as well, to get it out there. But I've had a few takers on it, and I got some that haven't done it yet, but they're going to. It's just a matter of them getting time. So
yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add before we close off?
I look forward to coming back to Canada. I haven't performed in Canada for at least, I think it's been 5 years. I think the last time I was there in Montreal, and I would love to come back. So if any of your listeners have a Pink Floyd tribute band and you'd like to have me as your guest star, find me on Facebook. Give me an invitation.
Well, there's a lot of tribute bands out there and a lot of really good ones as well.
Yes.
Well, you know what? Thank you so much, Durga, for coming on here. I've never had three sisters on here before, but you're my third McBroom sister.
Well, the next one you should get is Dana. Dana, Dana, as I mentioned, co-wrote Pull Up to the Bumper. She's a professor of dance. She worked with Catherine Dunham. She choreographed the movie Lead Belly. She's done a choreography for a lot of different things. And just face it, the McBroom sisters are fascinating. You need to have a set.
I should have a set, yes. Yes. So her name's Dana?
Dana.
Okay.
Dana McBroom Mano, yes.
Okay, I'm going to look into that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Well, before you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
This is Durga McBroom, and you're listening to Greg. Oh, God. Say your last name again.
Gilbert.
Gilbert. Okay. Gilbert. Okay. This is Durga McBroom, and you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise out of New Brunswick, Canada. Fuck. Sorry. Try it again. Okay. This is Durga McBroom, and you are listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise out of New Brunswick, Canada.
I'm going to keep the outtakes in. I love that. You're not the first one to mess it up, but those are funny. Some of the funniest ones, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, don't worry about it. You're not even the first one to use profanity, but when it goes on YouTube, it's not going to hurt anything anyway. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Oh, yeah.
Oh, people know me by now.
Well, Durga, good luck with everything you do, and good luck with Blue Pearl. And
thank you so much.
Yes, it was fantastic having you on here. A special thanks to Lorelei for sending you my way, and of course we got to send a special thanks out to Marcia for sending me Lorelei, who sent me you, and of course Dolly Reed. Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, who connected me with Marcia, who connected the domino effect.
Yes, Dolly is again also. Oh, what a sweetheart! What a lovely woman.
Oh, I threw the doubt for our challenge out to her too, and I think she's open to it. Yep. But anyway, thank you so much, Durga. This has been a huge honor. And I'll keep you posted on this. But like I said, I don't know when it's going to go out yet, so just be patient.
Okay, that's fine. Just send me a link to the show when it's ready.
Absolutely. God bless you, and
Thank you.
You take care. Enjoy Italy. Enjoy Rome.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Ciao, arrivederci.
Bye-bye.